take aggressive and imperfect action over and over again. And there's people that are sitting on the sidelines right now that might have more knowledge than me, but they refuse to just do an Instagram live. They refuse to reach out and shoot an email. They refuse to post something because they're worried about how it might look. And that is sad, because there's people right now that are crying themselves to sleep because they need your knowledge and you're just too scared because of how you're going to look. And that's a crime.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Thrive State podcast. I'm your host, Dr. V, triple board certified MD and performance and longevity expert. Super excited for you to join the show today, because if you are someone who's not in the health space, if you are not a practicing doctor, PA, nurse, physician, a lot of people are asking, can I truly take my health into my own hands? And the answer is totally yes. And I'm going to give you an example of how one person did just that on today's episode. Now, again, if this episode has given you some value and that you've up-leveled your life in a certain way by listening to the Thrive State podcast, please consider doing us a favor by leaving a 5-star review wherever you're listening to this podcast. It's definitely going to help the show grow. And if you haven't already, pick up a copy of my book, Thrive State, at thrivestatebook.com. Now, I'm super excited for this guest, because this guest was actually a police officer before he actually took his health and his life into his own hands by really doing the necessary training it takes to become somebody great in the human potential and performance space. My next guest is a life coach through the Human Potential Institute, and he's also an integrative health practitioner, both level 1s and 2, studying under functional medicine Dr. Stephen Cabral. He's actually able to tackle complex problems that most physicians don't even get trained on. So this is the joy about learning these days, that you could actually go out, learn from a mentor that you truly admire. You could go into the internet and find out some material that's out there. You can really empower yourself with the tools, with the knowledge and the strategies to become the best version of you. And I'm hoping the Thrive State podcast is one of those resources that all of you are using today. On today's episode, we're really going to dive into what makes somebody reach their human potential, and what are some myths as to living healthy. Does it cost a lot to eat well? Is it time consuming to eat well? All this and so much more. You know, he is a life coach and does a really great job in giving everybody bite-sized information that you could truly take on and tackle. Please enjoy this conversation. Make sure you follow him after this episode. Ladies and gentlemen, Joel Evan.
Let's start the energy.
Let's go, Kien.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I am glad to be on. You know, I got a chance to do a podcast with you a couple months ago, and here we are doing an IG Live for the people here on IG Live. So appreciate you coming on, Joel. Welcome to the Instagram edition of the Thrive State podcast.
Let's go. I'm ready, brother. It was great.
Let's do it. Okay, you know what?
Thanks for having me on. Appreciate you.
You got it. We do a segment of the show called the 5 to Thrive, and just 5 questions, 30-second answers at most. And here's the thing: if you win the 5 to Thrive, you get a nutritious meal on me the next time we're together. So I'm going to ask you right now: are you ready to play the 5 to Thrive? All right, here we go.
Always ready.
Question number 1. Question number 1 is: what did you want to be when you grew up?
Man, I didn't know what I wanted to be. When I turned 18 years old, I graduated high school. My friends went to Stanford, UCLA, Berkeley, all the great schools. You know where I went? Nowhere. Didn't know where I wanted to go. I had no exact plan other than to get good grades. Then when I graduated, I just kind of fell into the system. So I started doing sales, and I started falling in love with business and sales. And I was doing door-to-door knives with Cutco knives, believe it or not. It was amazing. Amazing experience, and it transformed me. But guess what? Still didn't know exactly what I wanted to do. That led me into law enforcement. I did that for 15 years. I worked in some major metropolitan cities. Some of you might know Oakland, California, top 5, one of the most dangerous cities in the world. I worked in San Francisco, and not too long ago, my friend, they actually let me go because I wouldn't take the juice. So I don't tell everybody that story, but I like to tell your audience because that led me to where I am now, which is health coaching. And I think this is where I really belong and where I want to be.
All right. You get 990 points out of 1,000 for that because I believe you went over 30 seconds, but all good. Question number two, and we're going to dive into more of that story in a little bit, but question number 2 is, what book has been most transformative in your life?
The Thrive State by Dr.
Yes,
Kien.
that's right. You make up for that. You get 3,000 points for that
Where
question.
is it? Hey,
Woo!
Let's go.
All right. Question number 3 is, you've done so much training, functional medicine, Human Potential Institute, all that. What is one of your very favorite things that you've learned with all the training that you've done?
My favorite thing that I've learned in everything is, and I'm an avid biohacker and I love biohacking, but none of that matters. You can throw away all the expensive equipment. I have a new fit machine right here that's $18,000. I don't care about any of those equipments or any of those things that you can buy. The strongest thing that you can have, the best biohack you can have is right here, your mind.
Ooh,
you can manage that and you can dive into presence. You will have something that nobody has. And that is how you really unleash human potential.
Ooh, I like that. We'll be diving more into that as well. 2,000 points for that one. Question number 4 is, if I forced you on stage, gave you a mic, and you were going to do karaoke, what song would you sing?
50 Cent, In the Club.
Ooh, all right, here we go. You'll be singing and dancing that. Awesome. Question number 5 for you is, how would you like to be remembered?
I want to be remembered as someone who transformed and touched other people's lives and made them better.
You're doing that, brother. You are doing that. You're living that. Thank you. You've got 6,000 points out of 5,000, which means you get extra credit, which means we get a healthy dessert the next time we get together as well. My friend, you were mentioning you were in the police force. Now you're doing health coaching. When you just said right now, they wanted you to be on the juice. What do you mean by that?
Well, I'm using a phrase because I don't want to get censored and I don't want you to get censored because you have an amazing platform. So everybody knows there's this thing called a pandemic, I guess. I mean, actually, if you look at the definition of a pandemic, this didn't meet the criteria, but let's just say it was a pandemic. Okay, so we lived in it. So over the last 2 years, there was this pandemic, and there was this product that was going around that some people were forced to take and had to have for their job. Well, I was fit into that category as a first responder of over almost 15 years of experience. And so they wanted me to take the juice, as I like to say. And believe me, a lot of things went through my mind. Luckily, I had been building this coaching business on the side. And I knew one day I was going to walk away because I felt called to do something different anyways. And I really just felt like this moment was the moment for me to, Tony Robbins talks about burning the boats, right? If you want to take the island, you got to burn the boats. And I think I was always half foot in, 1 foot out, right? Because this, having a job, having a 9-to-5 job, it's comfortable and it's good and it pays the bills and there's a lot of good things, benefits, all these things. But I wasn't really aligned with my higher self or my truth. And so when I started aligning with that, guess what? I started to meet amazing people like you, Dave Meltzer, and all these other amazing people because I started to step into that. And so that's kind of where I am right now. Yeah.
That's pretty awesome. I'm glad you did so because the message, the energy you share is so valuable for so many people. How did you decide on health coaching? Was there a health scare? Was there a family crisis or anything like that? How did you move into health coaching?
Dude, it's crazy because I grew up, when I was 18, I got into bodybuilding and wanted to transform my body. I wanted girls to like me. I wanted to just look better and learn more about nutrition. But when I got older, it was actually the birth of my son, who's almost 9 years old. And when he was born, I was a typical dad, holding him, wouldn't let him cry. So I'd be sitting on the couch for like 2 hours holding this guy. And I was like, this is a waste of my time. I mean, it's not a waste, but I want to stimulate my mind. So I got into podcasts and I fell into Ben Greenfield and Dave Asprey. And I thought I knew a lot about health. These guys made me realize I knew nothing about health. And so that really transformed me to continue that curiosity that I had.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, my mother was diagnosed with breast cancer. My mother-in-law was facing all these health issues. My son, when he was born, he had some gut issues. And I just felt like this is ridiculous because you know this, you were trained as a Western MD and you've migrated since doing amazing things in longevity and anti-aging, but the Western doc couldn't fix any of these people. And it hurt my feelings that I knew all this information. I didn't know how to structure it and I didn't know how to get people better. And I wanted to. And so that led me to going on to studying under, and you mentioned this in the Instagram, was Dr. Stephen Cabral and doing a lot of naturopathic stuff. And even right now, I'm still studying with other practitioners and continuing my education because I just, when you have, you know, it's like one of our good friends, Dave Meltzer, says, you can have everything in the world, but the one non-negotiable is your health. And a sick person has only one wish, and that's to be healthy. And a healthy person has as many wishes as they want. And that's the truth, brother.
Oh, you are spitting out truth, my friend. And, you know, one thing that's happening right now is we know the holidays are coming up. And right after the holidays is going to be the new year, 2020. You know, I know one of your specialties is weight loss. That among so many different things. I mean, this guy, I have to tell you, the training this guy has done has surpassed the training of many different physicians that are already out there. So you could trust him with what he has to share with you. But how do people start looking at themselves? You know, we've got the holidays where people are going to want to eat. Maybe they want to eat some traditional food, or they have this huge goal of a new body coming up in 2023. How do you approach that? And once you answer that, we can talk about maybe what seems to stop some people in achieving those goals.
Yeah, you know, it's a great question, and I can actually probably answer that question, both questions, in one answer. And the key to all of this, my friend, you know what's crazy? People come to me for weight loss, and when I ask them, what is the biggest challenge? What is the biggest barrier that's holding you back from getting to your goal? And believe it or not, like 95% of people don't tell me it has anything to do with nutrition habits or exercising more. What they tell me is, I'm not consistent and I'm not committed. Those are the two things I hear over and over again. And so again, it goes back to kind of what I said before. It's the mindset. It's the mentality that you have about this. Are you just losing weight because it's like, you know, just some quick fad that you want to do? Because I don't do that. First of all, I get people healthy and the byproduct is weight loss. So I teach you health and you can create that lifestyle for the rest of your life, which is why a lot of people, I think they have it backwards. They want to lose all this weight because they think they're going to get something. Kien, you know this, you have to start being the person right now, this very second, who is, let's say you want to weigh 180 pounds. Well, you need to start being that person right now. A lot of us do the opposite. We want to have something. When I get to this weight loss goal, I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be successful. I'm going to have more money. That's not true. No, you're not. You need to start being the kind of person that weighs 180 pounds right now. Like, what are their habits? What's their mindset like? How do they think? And so that's how I would start looking at it. Like, really, a lot of what I do in the beginning with people, sure, I talk about nutrition and exercise because that's part of it and that's important. But the first thing I always dial in with people is their mindset, their limiting beliefs, their values, what they stand for as a person. And I give them clarity and vision first. That's the first thing we work on, because when you understand that, then we can start getting into the detoxes and all that other fun stuff.
Yeah, really amazing stuff. And I love the fact that you talk about really becoming that next version of yourself now. Now, here's a question that I know a lot of people are wondering about. If they're used to thinking a certain way, if they're used to running an old program of limiting beliefs and all those things, how does that person from that place even start thinking about the person they want to become? Is there a technique or a visioning process you recommend for people to go through?
So many things, and I'll just say this. The first thing is just pick something and do that one thing. Start stacking those small wins. Most of us, we just make it too complicated for us. We have so many things. Should I do visualization? Should I do gratitude journaling? Should I wake up earlier in the morning? Should I do affirmations? I don't care. And any of those are great. Do them all. But most of us won't because it's just so difficult. It's just too overwhelming. So I would say pick one and then just do that really well and see what works for you. Now, I'll just tell you what I do personally that works for me, and this has changed over the years, and I'm sure you'll kind of agree with this because I know the way you think and your growth mindset, and just from reading your book and connecting with you more, I know this is your kind of stuff. But I was never a big visualization person. I used to think visualization was stupid. I would read all the personal development books, go to the seminars, and all the gurus say, visualization. Your book talks about visualization, by the way. And I used to think it was BS because it didn't work for me. And what I realized is I was doing it wrong, okay? And so I think that is one of the most powerful things that anyone can do right now. And that's something that I'm doing a lot more of, because that, I think, is one of the easiest and fastest ways you can start reprogramming the subconscious, right? And so you talk about it in your book too. It's activating that reticular activating system, right? And that's what we're doing. You could talk about it with vibration, energy, quantum energy. But if someone doesn't believe in any of that, okay, well, we have the science to back it up too. When we look at the SCN, the reticular activating system, and what that's doing. And so when you start to activate that and you start to connect with that, you can start to slowly reprogram, I think, some of those limiting beliefs. I think that's one of the quickest ways. And the last tip I'll give your audience that I use that works like really well with all my clients is the perfect day exercise. So just, take a 15 minutes of your day and imagine what your perfect day would look like. Like, write it out in detail from the minute you wake up till you go to bed. And when we look at that perfect day, let's compare it to your current reality, and let's see what that gap is like. And if we can start to just compress some of that together to make it more closer to what you want your perfect day to be, that's a really great technique and a great exercise to start getting people to start aligning with their truth and stop living with some of those old beliefs that they might be, that might be keeping them down.
Such an important part to start off the day with some kind of practice, whether it be meditation or visualization, and seeing that, because otherwise, if the first thing you wake up, you pull up your phone, you're going to just, lose this. You're going to lose the attention here, because just like you said earlier, this is the point. This is the place that there's awareness. And if you have awareness, you have choice. But if you're living off of an old programming and you're just reacting and lose your attention, when stuff starts to hit you during the day, which they will, you're just going to be a bystander of the old programming, the old thoughts. But when you can prime your day with something that you were talking about with that visualization technique, or Tony Robbins priming technique, or whatever that might be, you're actually saying, no, the day is going to go like this. And it really, changes your mindset, your physiology, and your approach and your decision making throughout the day. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about it too, and you talk about it in your book in the Thrive State, and it's, our reticular active, it really just primes the brain. It primes the brain, so you are more ready, and there's science to prove it. And I love that. I was going to go into some Tony Blauer, if you ever follow him. He talks a lot about self-defense. And he talks a lot about priming the brain and priming the mind to prepare for a self-defense fight. And so it's actually the same kind of, the same rationale.
Yeah. So I love how you talk about mindset as being crucial, because you could have all the strategy that you want. And trust me, there's strategy out there in terms of how to lose weight, all these different things. But if it doesn't start here, you could have the strategy right in your hand and you're not going to execute that, or you're not going to execute that in the state that you want to be in. You don't want to execute that in the Thrive State. And so I love that. Now, we had a few questions scroll in here, so I just want to be mindful and give people, some of what they want. How do you feel of fasting right now?
This episode of the Thrive State podcast is brought to you by the Thrive State Accelerator. The Thrive State Accelerator is actually a home course that I developed using the exact same techniques I work with my celebrity clients, CEOs, and executives on how to get them to the Thrive State. The Thrive State Accelerator teaches you how to master your 7 bioenergetic elements. That's sleep, nutrition, movement, stress and emotional mastery, relationships, our thoughts and mindset, as well as purpose. In this Thrive State Accelerator, you're also going to get a bonus module on optimization. That's how I talk about supplementation, peptides, all the optimization techniques I use with my clients to get them to the Thrive State. Now, for some of you who are just joining us for the first time, you guys might be wondering, what is the Thrive State? Well, the Thrive State is actually the energy, the epigenetic environment we give to ourselves, telling our DNA how to act and how to respond. And if we want optimal health, longevity, and peak performance, if we can master these 7 bioenergetic elements, our ability to have those 3 things that we just said, optimal health, longevity, and peak performance, is at its greatest. And it also prevents you from getting chronic symptoms like brain fog, being overweight, feeling sluggish, acne, pain, all these chronic symptoms, as well as preventing you from getting chronic disease. So getting to that Thrive State is really getting to that state to master being that very best version of yourself so you could show up for you, for your family, for your business, everything that's important to you. So go ahead, check it out right now at kienvu.com/accelerator and use coupon code podcast25 for 25% off. Now back to the podcast.
Man, I gotta be honest, Kien, I'm a little confused by it right now. There's a lot going on about it that, I talked to Rob Wolf about it. Everybody knows Rob Wolf from the paleo diet. And he told me, he said, Joel, in 20 years, we are going to say that it was the biggest, not fraud, but just one of the biggest, didn't do much for what people are talking about. And I think a lot of folks are saying, hey, listen, fasting's great, but it's nothing more than just a caloric deficit. That's what you're doing, basically. And so there's some interesting, new research coming out. Although I will say I have spoken with some fasting experts, and you and I were both at the Bulletproof I call it the Bulletproof the Upgraded Labs conference. I know you were there, and sorry I didn't get a chance to run into you. But Dr. Mindy Pels was there, and I cornered her. I go, hey, what do you think about this? You're a fasting expert, and a lot of folks are saying all it is caloric deficit. And she's like, no, that's not what I'm seeing on the research. And I got to interview another guy recently, another fasting expert, asked him the same question. What do you think? Is it just caloric deficit? That's why people are seeing the weight loss results? Or are we really doing something at a cellular level? And he said, no, I can even send you a couple studies. The autophagy, right? The body's ability to clean the cells, that is happening. So at the end of the day, I would say this to everybody. If your goal is to lose weight, right? And we know there's some great benefits to fasting or caloric deficit, I'm about results. So if they both get results, then do them. I think at the end of the day, even there's some really good studies, and Dr. Gundry talks about it in his latest book, The Keto Code, that there was that study with the Italian cyclist. And I love this study. All they did is compress their eating window to 7 hours. And we saw not only weight loss, big deal, that's great, but the metabolic effects they saw in terms of their fasting glucose and just the cardiovascular effects. So I think there's some good data to say fasting is a good thing.
Yeah, my thoughts on it is this: fasting is actually what we naturally do, and eating all the time is something we're not used to doing. And we're thinking the regular thing is that we should be eating all day. We've got food abundance all over, and we've trained people to think, oh, I need to have at least 3 meals a day and then at least be snacking, when every single species on the entire planet, including human beings, have evolved in such a way to be able to use to be able to live when there's energy resources around, such as food, but also survive when there's no energy around. So we've adopted those things. And one of the things that our body naturally does, as you mentioned earlier, when there's no energy resources around, is go through a process of autophagy. So this whole cycle is actually built into almost every single living organism. So that's something we already naturally do. So it's not like, oh, is this a new phase? Every single species already does it. This is how we function most. We've developed a way of being because of all the food surplus that we have in the world of just eating all the time. That's not natural, and I think that definitely causes disease. And that's how I was diabetic. Now, we know people right now are saying they're very busy. It's hard to eat.
Really quick.
Yeah,
I'm
go ahead.
curious, what are your thoughts on the fasting? And listen, I think we know for sure the 72 hours, 36 hours, you're seeing some good research, the stem cells, and we're seeing some good stuff. But in terms of just intermittent fasting, people that are doing like 16/8, what are your thoughts in just the research and what you're saying? Do you think it's worth it, or do you think that that's just caloric restriction?
Well, I think time restricted feeding is definitely important, because what happens in instances where you're eating all the time is you're basically having your body secrete insulin the entire day if you're eating all the time. Eventually, that's going to exhaust your pancreas, and then that will lead to insulin resistance of just having so much insulin around. So that's a major cause of insulin resistance. And so therefore, I feel that if you restrict the time window in which you're eating, you get those benefits. The longer you fast, you start to turn on those longevity and autophagy genes. So you get extra benefits with those long fasts, but you don't need to be doing that, every single week or anything like that. Just, I would probably say a couple times a year, you will probably be good with a longer fast. Yeah.
Perfect. Love it. I'm gonna love that. Love that.
Sounds good. So we have a question. Let us please know what books you're talking about so we can purchase. Oh, the Thrive State. Well, you can get the Thrive State. Actually, get 3 free chapters sent right to your email now by going to thrivestatebook.com. We got another question here in terms of, healthy eating. Some people say that it costs too much money and takes too much time to eat healthy. And as we approach the holidays here, do you have some tips and tricks? Is that a myth that you need a lot of money to eat healthy and you need a lot of time to prepare? How do you help your clients in that regard?
It's a complete myth, because it's going to cost you way more down the line when you're popping pills and going into surgery and all the other things that come with it, right? Unfortunately. So that's the truth. Now, of course, as humans, we can't think that far out. We're very, focused on that immediate cost. But here's the thing. I'm one of the laziest people that you're going to meet. So I got to make things easy. And being healthy, here's the thing. You can actually go buy things in bulk. I just moved to Idaho, and I'm able to get like a whole cow, and it comes out to like $3 a pound for like ground beef. If you go to Whole Foods, it's like $9. So listen, there's ways to do it, and you can't always be perfect. I would recommend buying organic as much as I can. I'll be honest, I used to poo-poo on that and think that, it's not that big a deal. After learning more and more about glyphosate and interviewing Dr. Stephanie Seneff, I can tell you this is a huge problem. Roundup or glyphosate, the pesticide, the weed killer that we all know about, that thing is way more toxic than we have ever been led to believe. And it's destroying your collagen. It's destroying your gut. It's destroying the way you synthesize vitamin D. So we know people that had issues with the pandemic, they had low vitamin D. So imagine even if you're supplementing or you're going outside, but your pathway is ruined because of this pesticide, you're going to have some issues. So I think, again, we're talking about the cost up front. Yeah, I do say buy organic as much as you can. That's number one. Now, to make it easy, let me just give you some simple strategies to make it easy. Because like I said, I'm lazy. And so what I do to keep things simple is this. I have a nice nutritional powder that I like to use in the morning, and I make a smoothie for breakfast pretty much every morning. I have my coffee, but again, you're going to notice I try to keep my meals to about 3 meals a day. My first 2 meals, breakfast and lunch, are pretty much the same every day. I don't really have to think about it. I know exactly what I'm going to eat. Breakfast, I do a smoothie, easy on the digestion. I get all my vitamins, minerals, and nutrients right away. I'm not saying I won't need them later, some other stuff too, but boom, it's a nice way. I rehydrate the body, and I kind of we know that 30% of your energy is wasted on digestion. I'm having a smoothie, so I get to keep that energy. I get to stay in that thrive state. So I will do the smoothie. Then for lunch, I typically have like a salad with some protein. The protein will vary, but the salad is, listen, go to Costco, organic salad mix, organic carrots, maybe some cucumbers, maybe some pumpkin seeds, a little bit of olive oil, salt, pepper, I'm done. And then dinner is the only thing I have to really think about or focus on. And that's pretty simple too. I stick to about like 2 or 3 of the same carbs. Interestingly, I was following your post on white rice. I do usually have white rice. I'll have to talk to you about that. but I'll do either white rice or sweet potatoes, something like that, some kind of protein, and then veggies. I mean, it's pretty simple. So I stick to that. And what I tell people is, look, even if you go on vacation or the holidays are coming up, you're like, oh my God, the holidays, Joel, like I'm going to eat bad. That's like, if you look at my meals, breakfast is healthy, lunch is healthy. So even if I bomb on dinner time with some, not a healthy meal for Christmas or the holidays, that's 2/3 of my day I was like really good. And so that's why I'm able to stay consistent for the long run. And when you think about that, most people, they can do the same thing. So really make it easy. I don't do a lot of different things for breakfast and lunch, and that's what makes it easy. Dinner's the only variable that you have to think about.
I love that. And you make it so simple, nice simple shake in the morning, and then at lunch. This is what I like to tell for most people who are just starting out is if you buy bulk organic over at Costco, you just grab stuff and throw them on the salad bowl, a little bit of olive oil, and then like you said, just change up some good quality protein, and that's it. It takes you how long to make that?
I mean, it takes me a minute to make the salad, and then the protein. Sometimes even less, because I haven't won too many fans over this, but I have a dark secret that I like sardines, and I will just eat them out of the can with olive oil. And by the way, when I was a first responder, people would mock me, and I converted about 5 people over a year's time to eating sardines. So it's a great source of protein, and it's a great source of omega-3s. It's got like 1,700 milligrams of omega-3s. If you go buy like a supplement, you're gonna get like 1,000. So it's pretty cool. So yeah.
Now you heard it right there. That meal alone, that salad is super nutritious, rich in healthy fats, and probably costs you less than $5 to make. Particularly if you're eating the sardines, which are great. You want to shoot for smaller fish because they're less in mercury. Think smash, salmon, anchovies, herring, sardines, and mackerel. So
Yeah, baby.
You've got a new book coming out next year. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so actually I'm working with this amazing coach, Jake Kelfer. I cannot recommend this guy enough. He's been really awesome and just keeping me on path. But the goal of this book is really, over this last year of just working with over 100 folks, I've seen a lot of patterns. I've seen a lot of trends. And my goal is to make it. Here's the biggest problem that people have when it comes to holistic health, eating right, and losing weight. They don't have the time, and they don't know how to figure it all out. And so my goal is to kind of condense that knowledge, the mindset, the nutrition, the detox, the exercise, the habits, the systems. How do we put this all together, and so that it's simple? And so a lot of the busy professionals and first responders and entrepreneurs, the people I work with, they don't have the time to go to the gym 6 days a week and work out. So I really wanted to make this like a manual for them to get there, to get healthy and lose weight as well, but making it simple. And so that's what this book is going to be all about.
Oh, super. When can we expect to see it so that we would push it out there?
Jake's working me hard. He said Q1 next year. Let's go. I said, you got it. He's got me on a deadline, and I'll make it happen.
Super shout out to Jake Telford. He's actually reached out to me too. Really, really great guy. High energy. Dr. Pizzone from the Fountain Labs is joining us. We know Fountain is actually one of the leaders out there in human performance and longevity. They've got a huge clinic out in Naples, Florida. Dr. Pizzone, what up, my man? Evan, look, you are obviously super pumped and excited to get this new year rocking with the book, coming out next year. What are some of the new projects that we could expect to see in addition to the book, and where can people find you online?
Amazing. Thanks for asking that question. So, yeah, I mean, I got a couple of big things that I'm working to. Obviously, my podcast, the Hack Life podcast, I'm growing that. I'm putting a lot of energy, and I'm working with some really cool people to make that happen. You were on it recently. The episode hasn't released, but stay tuned for that. So I'm working on that. I got the book dropping, like you mentioned. Anybody that wants to reach out to me one-on-one for any type of holistic health coaching or gut health or weight loss, please reach out to me. You can go to my website, joelevancoaching.com, or if you're here online, you already see my handle at joelevancoaching. And then the last thing that, it's been kind of exciting, I don't really talk about, but over the last 6 months, I've actually been really geeking out on essential oils. And so I'm partnering up and I'm looking for brand partners, people that are into these natural remedies, that either want to learn more, because I am on a mission. Really, the center of what I'm doing is teaching people knowledge so that they can be a health coach in their own home, that they don't have to go to the doctors. I was at the doctor's office recently, not because I was sick. I actually had to get some blood work done. And you know what I saw there? Only sick people. And I never realized that before. And that's sad to me. Like, when people come to your office, these people are like optimizing. Like, they want to get better. They're like vibrant. They're like you and I. It's that vibration. And right. So that is how it should be. And that's how I want to start cultivating that for people. And then anybody like yourself who is a health, I hate the word influencer, that is a health wellness champion that wants to partner with doTERRA, let me know, and I'm happy to help you out. We're helping those kind of folks. I'm working with a 7-figure entrepreneur right now who's built that business, and I'm trying to help others. There's people like you that are just crushing it, but they also are time poor, and so they want to know, they're looking for ways to buy that time back. And I think I'm really excited with what doTERRA is doing, and I think we have a good strategy to get people to 6 to 7 figures if that's something that they're looking to do.
Wow, pretty amazing stuff. Reach out to this guy. He's done the work. Like I said earlier in the podcast, he's done more training than many, many other MDs. You could trust the stuff that he's coming in. And he's also got so much knowledge, interviewing so many people that are in the health, longevity, wellness, and performance space. Last question for you. Before you go, is of everything that you've done, everything you've seen, you can't use the word mind anymore, but what has been your best medicine?
The best medicine, and this I've learned this throughout the process over the last 2 years, man, and being forced into like the brink of like, man, I don't know what I'm going to do. I might lose my house. I might lose everything that I've built. And what I've learned is that by lean into that fear, take aggressive and imperfect action over and over again. And there's people that are sitting on the sidelines right now that might have more knowledge than me, but they refuse to just do an Instagram live. They refuse to reach out and shoot an email. They refuse to post something because they're worried about how it might look. And that is sad, because there's people right now that are crying themselves to sleep because they need your knowledge, and you're just too scared because of how you're going to look. And that's a crime. So take messy action, get out there, and you're going to have so much more impact.
Dude, Evan, that is some awesome advice. Definitely, it's all in the action. You're gonna either grow or you're gonna learn in the process. My friend, thank you so much. You are definitely a champion and an ally in my world. So if there's anything I could do to ever support you, you just reach out. And everybody, you need to follow this guy. And thank you again, brother, for being on the Thrive State podcast.
I appreciate you, man. Likewise, anything I can do to support you, I'm all about you. So anything.
I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Thrive State podcast. And if this podcast is bringing a lot of value to you, if you find that your life is just improving with this podcast, that your life is getting to the next level, please consider supporting it. And here's a few ways you can do so. You can do so by liking this video and commenting on this video, and also sharing this video with your friends and family. Another thing you can do is go to ratethispodcast.com/ThriveState. Go ahead and leave us a 5-star review there. It will really, really help this show grow. And this will give me more time so that I could actually give more content to you, just like you got in this episode. And if you haven't already picked up a copy of my book, Thrive State, Your Blueprint for Optimal Health, Longevity, and Peak Performance, you can pick it up now. It became a #1 new release in longevity. Go to thrivestatebook.com. And if you enjoy the book, please consider leaving us a review as well. And the last thing you can do, if you're liking everything here and you want to work more closely with me as well as my team to get you into the Thrive State, go to kienvu.com/accelerator and consider joining the home course, the Thrive State Accelerator. It's really the course that I use. It's the concepts that I use personally when I work with CEOs, celebrities, and my high-profile clients to get them to the Thrive State. Again, the Thrive State Accelerator at kienvu.com/accelerator. And because you're a listener of this podcast, I want you to save 25% by using the coupon code podcast25. I hope we continue to give value to you. And remember always, you are your best medicine.